Welcome to episode 19 of Run the Length. Before we get into the episode, a few quick things. First, go check out my Patreon, where you can get access to early and exclusive content, as well as the custom status effect tokens I use in this video. Second, this episode is brought to you by Muson Minis. Muson Minis provide my Farmer's Token set, and all the widgets I use, even my custom status effects tokens, are made by Muse. A link to their store can be found in the description down below. My opponent this week is Guild Ball World Champion Alex Botts. Alex is one of the hosts of Strictly the Worst Guild Ball podcast. At the time of this recording, I am ranked 7th in the world and 4th in the United States. Alex is ranked 1st in the world and 1st in the United States. I will be playing Farmers, and Alex is playing Butchers. It is worth mentioning here that this game was recorded after the errata, and if you are interested in a deep dive on the update, you should check out episode 36 of Strictly the Worst. We select game plans. My game plans are Seize the Initiative, Sell it to the Crowd, Dig Deep, Wingbacks, and Kick 'em when they're down. Alex's game plans are Hunker Down, Grudge Match, Won't Touch the Hair, Lone Striker, and Keep Your Chin Up. Alex wins the roll and chooses to receive. We select our captains and mascots. Alex picks Filet and Princess, while I pick Grange and Peck. Alex's choice here is quite standard. Betgutter is not released as of the recording of this video, and as a result he is playing the more reliable captain into me. I am playing a bit outside the box here and trying a kickoff Grange list I have been working on. The idea is to use Grange's control effects to make it very difficult for the other team to come into you. Alex starts off the draft by picking Meat Hook. Alex has told me before that he thinks the best player in Butchers is Meat Hook, and it is hard to disagree. Great tack, decent playbook, has combined results, hands out bleed, and -1 defense pretty trivially. I draft Tater. Alex drafts Boiler. Alex really likes Boiler, and with assist from Princess, he can just delete players. I draft Millstone. Alex drafts Decimate. Second Wind is super important to Filet's turn 1, and Decimate can hit 1,000 cuts against my team's low defense very easily. I draft Harrow. Alex drafts Boar. I draft Fallow. Alex's list is all about Filet, setting her up and supplying a strong turn 1 for Alex to ride to victory. My list is all about Denial. This is the Grange Prison list, where you can prevent the opponent from placing models where they want with Countercharge, prevent them from applying conditions properly with Millstone, and prevent them from attacking who they want with Fallow. The terrain on this board was generated using the Longshanks terrain generator. At the top we have an obstruction and a barrier, rough ground, a forest, another obstruction, and a third obstruction at the bottom. I deploy. From top to bottom we have Peck, Fallow, Millstone, Grange, Harrow, and Tater. Grange is kicking. I'm deployed super tight here because after the kickoff I need Harrow, Millstone, and Fallow to be within 4 inches and Tater to be completely within 4 for the entire package to protect Grange. Botts deploys. From the top to bottom we have Boar, Meat Hook, Filet, Decimate, Boiler, and Princess. I kick off and try to keep the ball as close to Grange as possible in an attempt to give myself a target to go in on with my last activation. The ball scatters just 2 inches over the line and Alex moves to allocation. He places 6 on Filet, 1 on Meat Hook, 3 on Decimate, and 2 on Boiler. I allocate, placing 6 on Grange and 1 on each of my other players. Alex activates Decimate. Decimate places Second Wind on Filet, then jogs to the ball and kicks it to Meat Hook. I activate Harrow. Harrow gets to sow the seeds for free, placing a harvest marker behind Grange. He tools up Grange and jogs towards the bottom of the pitch. This is a bit of a positioning mistake. I am too worried about Blood Rain, and while trying to avoid it, I have placed Harrow outside of Fallow's protection. Alex activates Boar and charges Grange. The charge fails, and he ends his activation. I activate Tater, moving him up to cover Grange and Harrow. Alex jogs up Princess. I activate Peck. He places Cocky on Millstone and jogs up a bit. Alex activates Meat Hook. She tools up Filet, jogs up next to Decimate, and drops the ball along the way. I activate Millstone and place Get in the Goal on Peck. Then I adjust her positioning to be just outside of 3 inches of Grange, so she can take his bleed. I forget to drop her Harvest Marker. Alex activates Boiler. He sprints to the ball, then kicks it to Filet. Filet takes a dodge off the successful kick. I activate Fallow. I am still worried about Blood Rain, and position her outside of 3 inches of Grange. In retrospect, I need her aura to cover my entire team. Alex activates Filet and jogs up, ending just outside of 6 inches of Tater to avoid the countercharge. She then kicks the ball to Boiler with bonus time. She takes a dodge off of the successful kick, moving into melee with Harrow. She attacks Harrow, hitting the Blood Rain. Blood Rain places bleed on Harrow and Tater and does 3 damage to Harrow. Millstone is too far away to take Harrow's bleed, so she absorbs Tater's instead, and Cocky falls off. Filet attacks again, dealing 5 damage to Harrow and a dodge due to my bleed. She attacks again and wraps to the 1, dealing 3 damage and a momentous Blood Rain. Her next attack does 4 momentous damage. Her final swing kills Harrow and generates 2 inches of dodge, which he uses to move away from my team. Score is now 0-2. Then Filet uses second wind to jog out of Grange's jog threat. I activate Grange, and I am thinking that it is very possible for me to get a 6-point activation at the top of the next turn, since Alex left the ball within my captain's threat. I have a card that is Initiative 7, and I will happily throw away Grange for 6 points. I charge Boiler. Alex declares a defensive stance. Charging Boiler is a bit of a mistake here, since I don't want to take the knockdown. Grange does momentous 3 damage. Grange's second attack goes on Decimate, and we knock her down. Grange hits her, doing 3 damage. Grange's fourth attack misses. This is a bit of a disaster, since it means I can only tie Alex's momentum, and if he also has a 7, he can force a roll-off. My third attack does 3 damage. I drop Grange's Harvest Marker. This ends the turn. The momentum race is tied 4-4, and we play our game plans. I play Seize the Initiative. Alex plays Lone Striker. The initiative is tied, so we go to a roll-off, and Alex wins the roll-off. He chooses to go first. We resolve Seize the Initiative, and Alex dodges Meat Hook into Grange. I dodge Grange back towards Tater, but I am not able to get him completely protected by countercharge. Alex allocates. He places 6 on Filet, 2 on Boiler, 2 on Meat Hook, 1 on Boar, and 1 on Decimate. I jog Harrow back on the pitch. I pick up a Harvest Marker for an extra influence. Another Harvest Marker gets moved here, but we fix it later in the turn. I allocate. I place 6 on Grange, 4 on Tater, 1 on Fallow, and 1 on Harrow. I feel like going first here would have put me in a very commanding lead, but no disasters can happen here. Filet can't one-round Grange without any buffs on her, and Tater is the anti-Filet. So I'm just looking to set up the scrum in a favorable way. Alex activates Meat Hook and jogs to the small spot that I cannot get her with countercharge, and attacks Grange. She does 2 damage push, pulling Grange into base contact with Meat Hook. This also puts Hooked and Bleed on Grange. She attacks again, dealing 3 damage. She uses her heroic play to put -4 move on Grange. I activate Grange and attack Meat Hook, missing the attack. Grange attacks again, missing again. His third attack knocks her down. His fourth attack does 1 damage. I clear conditions on Grange and sprint back to countercharge protection. Grange puts Constitution on himself, and I forget to drop his Harvest Marker. Alex activates Princess and jogs just over the wall. I decline to countercharge the dog. I activate Harrow and jog up. I place him outside of 3 inches of Tater and inside 6 inches of Grange, so that Grange can heal off his aura, and that if Filet goes into Tater and does a Blood Rain, Harrow does not end up bleeding too. I tool up Fallow. Alex activates Boiler and jogs just over the wall and throws a marked target at Grange. He hits it. He then passes the ball to Filet. Filet dodges off of the successful pass into cover. I activate Tater and charge Meat Hook. I am hoping that I can hit the mow down and knock down the other 3 players that he has in cover. Alex does not declare any defensive actions. This is a tough decision, but ultimately the correct one in my opinion. If he does a defensive stance, and I get it, Filet loses the ball, and he will be sitting on no momentum with the 6 stack on Filet and no way to spend it next turn. I hit the mow down and knock down Boiler, Filet, and Princess. The ball scatters right behind Filet. I attack Filet and do a double push. Tater's last attack goes on Filet and does 2 damage. Alex activates Filet and clears conditions. She jogs to base with Grange and attacks him, knocking him down. She attacks again, doing a momentous blood rain, placing bleed on Tater and Grange. Millstone takes Grange's bleed. She attacks again, doing a momentous blood rain, making the bleed actually stick to Grange this time. Filet attacks Grange again, doing 3 damage and a dodge. Her final attack wraps, doing 4 total damage and 2 inches of dodge. She uses her legendary to do 3 damage to Grange and Tater. This brings Grange down to 3 health. I activate Peck and jog him slightly away. Alex activates Decimate, who cannot reach Grange, so she just forfeits movement. I activate Millstone. She removes conditions, drops her harvest marker, then jogs towards Tater. Alex activates Boar and charges Grange. He fails to charge and ends his activation. I activate Fallow. I use Make Hay to pick up 2 harvest markers for 4 more influence. I charge Meat Hook. Fallow wraps, does 6 damage. She attacks her again, doing 3 damage. Her third attack does 3 damage. Her final attack kills Meat Hook. Score is now 2-2. Fallow clears Grange's conditions. This ends the turn. The momentum race is tied 4-4. We play our game plans. I play Sell It to the Crowd, and Alex plays Grudge Match. Our initiative values are tied, so we roll off, and I win the roll. I choose to go first. We resolve our game plans, and I place Singled Out on Boiler. Alex places Singled Out on Fallow. Tater takes 3 damage from Bleed, which heals Filet 1, and Harrow's Aura heals Grange. I allocate. I place 5 on Grange, 4 on Tater, 1 on Fallow. Alex allocates. He places 1 on Boar, 3 on Decimate, 1 on Boiler, 3 on Filet, and 3 on Meat Hook. I activate Grange, since if I do not, he will die. Grange jogs to engage Filet and Boiler. I buy an attack on Filet and knock her down. Grange attacks Boiler, putting up Honest Labor. Grange's third attack goes on Filet, doing 2 damage. His fourth attack hits Filet for 1 damage. Grange heals himself and puts Constitution on himself. I forget my harvest marker again. Alex activates Filet. He uses a momentum to stand her up and attacks Grange, hitting Blood Rain, making all of my models in the scrum bleed. She attacks him again, and I counterattack with Grange. She does 3 damage and a dodge. Grange's counterattack knocks her down. Her final attack hits Grange for 2 damage. She dodges next to the ball and does not pick it up. I activate Tater and attack Boiler. He does 4 damage. Tater attacks him again, doing 3 damage. His third attack does 3 damage. His final attack kills Boiler. Score is now 4-2. Tater heals Grange and himself. Alex activates Boar and stands up Princess. He charges Fallow. I declare a defensive stance. Alex forgets to roll the singled out dice. He does 3 damage. He triggers Berserk and does another 3 damage. Boar buys an attack, and Alex remembers his singled out dice this time. He does 2 damage to Fallow and triggers Berserk, dealing another 2 damage. That's some rough dice for Alex. This is where me failing to drop harvest markers is really brutal. I am very worried that I will lose Grange or Fallow before Fallow activates, so I want to go with her right now, but there are no harvest markers for her. I will also lose out on 2 of her influence for this mistake, since Harrow isn't dropping any markers this turn. I activate Millstone. She drops her harvest marker and jogs up to make life difficult for Meat Hook. Decimate activates and jogs to Fallow. She attacks Fallow, doing 1,000 cuts. Her second attack wraps to the 2, doing 5 damage and 2 inches of dodge. Decimate attacks her again, doing another 5 damage and 2 inches of dodge. This kills Fallow. Score is now 4-4. Decimate heals Filet. I activate Harrow and jog him towards the scrum. Alex jogs Meat Hook into melee with Millstone, and can't quite stay out of Grange's melee. She attacks and I counterattack. She does 3 damage and pushes Millstone into base contact. Millstone's counterattack does 3 damage. Meat Hook heals herself and attacks again, doing 2 damage. Her final attack does 3 damage. I activate Peck and jog over to Harrow. Princess activates and goes to base contact with Tater. This ends the turn. Butchers are leading the momentum race 8-1. We play our game plans. I play Dig Deep. Alex plays Hunker Down. Alex chooses to go first. In the maintenance phase, we have Harrow healing people and Filet healing back to full off of those bleeds. Alex jogs Boiler back on the pitch. Alex allocates, placing 6 on Filet, 1 on Bore, 2 on Decimate, and 4 on Meat Hook. I jog Fallow back on the pitch and declare that I am within 4 inches of Grange. I allocate, I place 1 on Fallow, 1 on Millstone, 4 on Grange, 4 on Tater, and 2 on Harrow. Alex goes to activate and double checks that I got within 4 inches of Grange, and it looks like I am out. We reset to check if I could have gotten in, and Fallow coming on is just outside of 9 inches. So I declared something that was not possible. Fallow is outside of between a rock. Alex activates Fillet and hits Grange, getting a blood rain. There is some argument that I should have taken the counterattack, forcing him to take a momentous result instead of the blood rain, but Grange is on 6 hit points and is just dead without Fallow's intervention. Her second attack does 3 damage. Her third attack kills Grange. Fillet dodges towards Millstone and picks up the ball. Score is now 4-6. He attacks Millstone, and I declare a counterattack. Fillet's attack does 4 damage, and she dodges to max melee, so Fallow can't get in. Millstone's counterattack tackles the ball. Fillet attacks Millstone again, dealing 3 damage, and tackles the ball, then dodges to base with Millstone. I trigger Fallow's between a rock, and I jog her to engage Fillet, so she can't kill Millstone here. This is an enormous mistake by Alex. Fillet attacks Fallow, doing 2 damage. Alex chooses not to take his jog and passes the turn. He has made another large mistake this activation in not healing Meat Hook, and I am hoping I can capitalize here. I activate Tater and take a parting blow from Princess, who does 3 damage. Tater jogs to base with Meat Hook and attacks. Alex counterattacks. Tater does 2 momentous damage. Meat Hook's counterattack does 1 damage and applies Hooked. Alex forgot about Resolute from his game plan. Tater's second attack does 2 damage. I bonus time Tater's third attack, hoping to spike so I can put some damage on Fillet. Tater does 2 damage. Tater's final attack kills Meat Hook. Score is now 6-6. Tater heals himself and Millstone. Alex activates Princess and jogs her to engage Tater, Millstone, and Fallow. I activate Harrow and jog him into cover and attack Fillet. Harrow does a momentous Sow the Seeds. His second swing does 1 damage. Harrow heals himself. Alex activates Decimate, jogs to Harrow, and attacks him, doing 2 damage dodge. She hits him again for 2 damage. Her third attack does the same thing. I activate Peck and jog him into base with Bore to limit his effectiveness. Alex activates Bore. Bore attacks Peck, doing 2 damage. He triggers Berserk and does 1 damage. Bore jogs and takes a parting blow from Peck, who deals 2 damage. I activate Millstone and drop her Harvest Marker. I heal Millstone and attack Fillet. She deals 2 damage. Alex activates Boiler and jogs him to cover. I activate Fallow and she makes hay. I can only reach the 2 closest Harvest Markers, so those are the 2 that I pick up. She attacks Fillet and Alex counterattacks. Fallow knocks Fillet down and we scatter the ball. With the combo key! The ball ends up right next to Fillet. Fallow attacks again and does 2 damage. Her third attack does 2 damage. Her fourth attack does 2 damage. Her last attack does momentous 2. Fallow heals herself and Harrow, then clears Tater's conditions. This ends the turn. I spent down here because I know I only have low cards in my hand, and going first seemed very unlikely. Butches are leading the momentum race 7-0. We play our plan cards. I play Kick 'em when they're down. Alex plays Keep Your Chin Up. Alex chooses to activate first. Alex jogs Meat Hook back on the pitch. Alex allocates. He places 4 on Boiler, 1 on Bore, 3 on Meat Hook, and 4 on Decimate. I jog Grange back on the pitch. I pick up a Harvest Marker for an extra influence. I allocate. I place 4 on Grange, 4 on Tater, 1 on Millstone, 1 on Harrow, and 1 on Fallow. I forget Harrow's healing aura this turn. Alex activates Boiler. Boiler jogs to melee with Fallow and uses his free Come On Mate from the game plan card to stand up Fillet. Boiler attacks Fallow, doing 3 damage. He attacks again, doing 3 damage. His third attack does 3 damage. His final attack does 3 damage and kills Fallow. Score is now 6-8. Boiler heals himself. I activate Grange and jog him to engage Fillet, Boiler, Princess, and Decimate. Grange attacks Decimate, hitting the momentous Honest Labor. He attacks Decimate again, knocking her down. His third attack goes on Fillet, knocking her down. Grange heals himself. Grange heals Millstone. I put Constitution on Harrow. I forget my harvest marker again. Alex activates Boar and charges Harrow. I defensive stance. Boar's charge brings him into Grange's melee as well. The charge does 3 damage to Harrow. Berserk triggers and Boar attacks Grange, wrapping to the 1 and doing 1 damage double push. Boar attacks Harrow, doing 3 damage. He stands up Decimate and his final attack does 3 damage. I activate Harrow and drop a harvest marker. Harrow attacks Fillet, doing 2 damage due to kick him when they're down. Alex activates Decimate and attacks Harrow and does 2 damage. Her second attack does 2 damage. Her final attack takes him out momentously. Score is now 6-10. Decimate jogs over to Millstone and attacks her, doing 2 momentous damage. I activate Millstone and drop her harvest marker. She attacks Decimate. Decimate counterattacks. Millstone does 3 damage. Decimate's counterattack does 2 damage and a dodge. Millstone heals herself. Alex activates Meathook and jogs to base with Millstone. Alex clocks out. Meathook attacks, doing 3 damage. Meathook attacks again, and Alex bonus times the roll, doing 4 damage. Her third attack is bonus timed as well, and does 4 damage, leaving Millstone on 2. I score a point from the clock out. Score is now 7-10. I activate Tater. I attack Decimate, dealing 2 damage. Tater attacks her again, doing 3 damage, and killing her. Score is now 9-10. Tater takes a parting blow from the dog, and Princess deals 2 damage. Tater attacks Fillet, killing her. Score is now 11-10. Alex concedes since there is no influence left on the board, and his next activation will give me my final point. Final score is 12-10. This post-game analysis is made possible by the Patreon support of viewers like you. This was a very close game, decided by a few key mistakes on either side. I had several key harvest marker mistakes, and the turn where I allocated 4 to Grange thinking Fallow could protect him really cost me. My first turn was also pretty bad since I allowed Harrow to be killed with almost no reprisal. I was rescued by Alex's Rough Fillet activation where he failed to kill Millstone due to Fallow's taunt, and forgot to heal Meathook, allowing me to kill 4 of his influence. Kicking Grange is an interesting bit of tech that I have been working on lately, but after this game, it doesn't quite seem like it is ready yet. But with that, I would like to pass the question on to you. What were our mistakes this game? Would you have made different decisions during the game? What do you think of kicking Grange? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, it helps other Guild Ball players find this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the bell if you want to know the moment I upload a new video. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.